Let me ask you something. How many of you feel perfectly healthy right now? If you're watching this, I'm guessing most of you do. You wake up, you go about your day, you feel fine. No chest pain, no shortness of breath, no warning signs at all. So you assume everything is working the way it should be, right? Here's what I need you to know, and I say this not to scare you, but because you deserve the truth. You could be having one of the most dangerous things happening in your body right now, and you'd have absolutely no idea. No symptoms, no alarm bells, just silent, invisible damage occurring behind the scenes. This is what we call the silent killer, and I'm talking about high blood pressure. I had a patient named Robert come in about 5 years ago, 58 years old, great guy. Ran a small business, had a loving family, grandkids he adored. When I asked him how he was feeling, he said, "Doc, I feel fantastic. Never felt better." But when I checked his blood pressure, it was 165 over 105. That's significantly elevated. I told him we needed to address it. He nodded, thanked me, and honestly, I could tell he didn't think it was a big deal. He felt fine. So in his mind, there was nothing wrong. 3 years later, Robert had a massive stroke. He survived, but he spent 6 months in rehabilitation. His speech was slurred. His right side was weak. The man who built his business from the ground up could barely hold a pen. What breaks my heart is that this was preventable. One number, just one measurement on a simple blood pressure reading, could have changed everything for Robert. So today, I want to talk to you about that one number. The number most people don't understand. The number most people ignore. And more importantly, what you can do about it, starting today. Why blood pressure matters. First, let's talk about what blood pressure actually is, because I think a lot of people hear those two numbers and honestly have no idea what they mean. Your heart is a pump. That's its entire job. It pumps blood out through your arteries, and those arteries carry oxygen and nutrients to every single cell in your body. Every organ, every tissue, your brain, your kidneys, your eyes, everything depends on that blood flow. Now, blood pressure is simply the force of that blood pushing against your artery walls. Think of it like water pressure in a hose. If you turn up the pressure, the water comes out faster and harder. If that pressure stays too high, eventually that hose starts to wear out, right? It gets damaged. It can crack. The same thing happens to your arteries. When we measure your blood pressure, we get two numbers. Let me explain what each one represents. The first number, the bigger one, is called your systolic pressure. This is the pressure when your heart contracts and pushes blood out. It's the active pump. The second number is your diastolic pressure. This is the pressure when your heart relaxes between beats. Think of it this way. Systolic is the squeeze. Diastolic is the release. Now here's the thing. Both matter. But one of them, the systolic number, is especially important as we get older. And that's the one Robert ignored. Let me paint you a picture of what happens when blood pressure stays too high. Your heart has to work much harder to pump against all that resistance. Over time, the muscle of your heart gets thicker and weaker, kind of like scar tissue. That weakened heart can't pump as efficiently, so you develop heart failure. Your arteries are taking constant pounding. The inner lining of those arteries, the endothelium, gets damaged. When that protective lining cracks, plaque starts to accumulate. Cholesterol finds its way in. Before you know it, you've got a narrowed artery, and one day, a clot forms. That's a heart attack. Your kidneys filter your blood. They're like tiny, delicate filters. High blood pressure damages those filters over time, and your kidneys stop working properly. Now you need dialysis. Your brain depends on a precise balance of blood pressure. Too high, and you can develop a stroke. The vessels burst or get blocked. Too low, and your brain doesn't get enough oxygen. Your eyes have tiny, delicate blood vessels too. High blood pressure damages them, and you can lose your vision. And your brain, it doesn't just suffer strokes. High blood pressure contributes to cognitive decline, memory problems, and even dementia. This is why blood pressure is called the silent killer. It's doing all this damage, and you have no idea it's happening. The one number most people ignore. Here's what I want you to really understand. Both numbers in your blood pressure reading matter, but if I could only get you to focus on one, it would be that systolic number, the first number. Why? Because as we age, our arteries naturally become stiffer. It's a consequence of aging. When arteries stiffen, your systolic pressure tends to rise, even if your diastolic pressure stays relatively normal. And here's the critical part. Even mildly elevated systolic pressure increases your risk of heart attack, stroke, and kidney disease. We used to think that as long as your diastolic pressure was okay, you were fine. But the research has changed. We now know that isolated systolic hypertension, when that first number is high but the second is normal, is actually quite dangerous, especially in older adults. Let me give you some numbers to think about. If your systolic pressure is between 120 and 129, and your diastolic is below 80, that's elevated. You're not in the danger zone yet, but you're in the warning zone. Your body is telling you something needs to change. If your systolic is 130 to 139, or your diastolic is 80 to 89, that's stage 1 hypertension. This is where many people live without realizing it. If your systolic is 140 or higher, or your diastolic is 90 or higher, that's stage 2 hypertension. You need medical attention, and you need it now. Here's what scares me. I see people with systolic pressures of 145, 150, even 160, and they feel absolutely fine. They're going about their day, feeling great, and meanwhile, their arteries are being battered. Their heart is being strained. Their kidneys are being damaged. The thing is, you can't feel high blood pressure. There's no sensation, no pain, no warning. That's what makes it so dangerous. By the time you have symptoms, headaches, shortness of breath, chest pain, significant damage has usually already occurred. The hidden damage. I want to walk you through what's actually happening inside your body when your blood pressure stays elevated for months or years. Think of your arteries like roads. Imagine a highway that's being hammered by too much traffic, day in and day out. The surface cracks. Debris gets in those cracks. Eventually, the road deteriorates. That's what happens to your arterial walls. When blood pressure is high, the inner lining of your arteries gets micro tears. Your body tries to patch those up, but the patch isn't perfect. Cholesterol and other substances start to accumulate in those damaged areas. You develop atherosclerosis, plaque buildup. Now your arteries are narrowed. The blood can't flow freely. One day, a piece of that plaque breaks off, or a blood clot forms, and suddenly, blood can't get through at all. If it's in your coronary arteries, the ones feeding your heart, you have a heart attack. If it's in your brain, you have a stroke. Let me be clear about strokes, because this is where Robert's story really hurt. A stroke isn't something that happens overnight by accident. It's the culmination of years of damage. Every day your blood pressure is elevated, your risk goes up. Your blood vessels get weaker. Your brain gets less stable blood flow. And then one day, it happens. A clot forms. A vessel bursts. And in seconds, part of your brain dies. People think strokes happen to other people, old people, sick people. But Robert was only 61 when he had his stroke. He felt fine. He thought he was invincible. Your kidneys are being damaged too. Those tiny filtering units, called nephrons, are incredibly sensitive to high blood pressure. Every day your pressure is elevated, some of those nephrons die. They don't come back. Over time, You've lost so many that your kidneys can't do their job anymore. Now you need dialysis. You're hooked to a machine 3 times a week for 4 hours at a time for the rest of your life. Your eyes are suffering in silence. The blood vessels in your retina are leaking, bleeding, getting clogged. You might not notice anything until one day you see floaters or your vision blurs. By then, damage is done. This is called hypertensive retinopathy, and it's a leading cause of blindness. And here's something a lot of people don't talk about: cognitive decline. If you think memory problems and brain fog are just part of aging, think again. High blood pressure damages the small blood vessels in your brain. It reduces blood flow to areas responsible for memory and thinking. You start to notice you're forgetting things more often. You're having trouble concentrating. You're not as sharp as you used to be. A lot of people attribute this to getting older, but it's actually preventable. This is what the damage looks like when no one catches it in time. Common mistakes people make. I've been practicing medicine for over 15 years, and I see the same patterns over and over. Let me tell you about the mistakes that put you at risk. Mistake number 1. Ignoring slightly elevated readings. Someone gets their blood pressure checked at a pharmacy or at a health fair, and they see it's 138/88. They think, well, it's not 140, so I'm probably okay. Wrong. That reading is telling you something important. Your body is under stress. Something needs to change. Instead of listening, people dismiss it. They assume it was a fluke. They don't get it checked again. Meanwhile, that pressure stays elevated, and damage is accumulating. Mistake number 2. Thinking medication is the whole answer. Here's what I tell people. If I put you on blood pressure medication, that medication is a tool. It helps manage your pressure while you're making the changes that actually address the root cause. But some people take their medication and think that's enough. They keep eating salt, they don't exercise, they're stressed all the time, they're overweight. The medication might keep their pressure artificially controlled, but all those underlying problems are still there. When we look at people who take medication but don't make lifestyle changes, they have worse outcomes. The medication isn't a magic wand. Mistake number 3. Checking your blood pressure incorrectly. You'd be amazed how many people do this wrong. They get their pressure checked in the doctor's office with their arm hanging down while they're nervous. Then they compare it to a reading they took at home while sitting on the couch with their arm and the armrest at a different height. These readings can be 15 to 20 points different. You need consistency. Same time of day, sitting down, arm at heart level, feet flat on the floor. If you're not doing it correctly, you don't have accurate information, and you can't make good decisions based on inaccurate data. Mistake number 4. Blaming stress as the only cause. Yes, stress raises blood pressure, absolutely. But if the only thing you do is try to reduce stress, you're missing the bigger picture. Yes, take a yoga class. Yes, meditate. Those are great. But if you're eating a high-sodium diet, you're sedentary, you're carrying extra weight, and you're not sleeping, stress management alone isn't going to fix it. High blood pressure usually has multiple causes, and you need to address all of them. What healthy numbers really look like. Let me give you a clear picture of what you should be aiming for. Normal blood pressure is less than 120/80. If you're here, you're in good shape. Keep doing what you're doing. Elevated is 120 to 129 systolic and less than 80 diastolic. This is your yellow light. No medication needed, but lifestyle changes are essential. Your body is telling you to pay attention. Stage 1 hypertension is 130 to 139 systolic, or 80 to 89 diastolic. At this point, most doctors will recommend lifestyle changes, and depending on your other risk factors, we might consider medication. Stage 2 hypertension is 140 or higher systolic, or 90 or higher diastolic. This requires medical treatment. You need to see a doctor and get started on a treatment plan immediately. Now, here's something important. These numbers are guidelines. They're not one size fits all. Your individual risk factors matter. If you're 75 years old with a bunch of other health problems, your target might be slightly different than someone who's 40. That's why it's so important to talk to your doctor about your specific situation. But here's what I want you to take home. If your blood pressure is 130 or higher, or 80 or higher on the diastolic, that's something that deserves your attention. You need to act. How to lower blood pressure naturally. Okay, so you've checked your blood pressure, and it's higher than it should be. Now what? Here's what actually works. Diet is the foundation. What you eat directly impacts your blood pressure. The DASH diet, Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, is backed by solid research. It's built on whole grains, lean proteins, lots of fruits and vegetables, and healthy fats. When people follow this diet, blood pressure drops. Not eventually. Within weeks, you'll see a difference. Why does diet matter so much? Because food is information. It tells your body how to regulate fluid and electrolytes. It controls inflammation. It affects your weight. All of these directly impact your blood pressure. Sodium is critical. Your body uses sodium to regulate fluid balance. When you consume too much sodium, your body holds onto water, your blood volume increases, and your pressure goes up. The average person is eating 2 to 3 times the recommended amount of sodium. If you cut your sodium intake in half, studies show your blood pressure can drop by 5 to 10 points. That's significant. That can be the difference between needing medication and not needing it. Start reading labels. Look at the sodium content. Most of the salt we consume isn't from what we add to food. It's hidden in processed foods, bread, cheese, canned soups, restaurant meals. Once you start paying attention, you'll be amazed how much sodium you're consuming without realizing it. Movement matters. Exercise is like a miracle drug for blood pressure. When you exercise regularly, and I'm talking about 30 minutes most days of the week, your blood pressure drops. Your heart gets stronger. Your arteries become more flexible. Your nervous system calms down. But here's the thing. It has to be regular. One workout isn't going to do it. You need consistency. It doesn't have to be intense. A brisk walk is perfect. Swimming, cycling, dancing, whatever gets your heart rate up. The key is doing it regularly and making it something you actually enjoy so you stick with it. Sleep is non-negotiable. Your blood pressure naturally drops when you sleep. But if you're not getting enough sleep, or your sleep quality is poor, your pressure stays elevated all night, and it doesn't come down during the day as much as it should. Over time, this elevates your baseline pressure. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. If you're getting less than 6, your blood pressure is probably higher because of it. Look at your sleep habits. Are you going to bed at the same time? Is your bedroom dark and cool? Are you on your phone right before bed? These things matter. Improving your sleep can lower your blood pressure by 3 to 5 points on average. Stress management is real. Chronic stress keeps your nervous system in fight or flight mode. Your body is constantly releasing adrenaline and cortisol. Your blood vessels constrict. Your heart rate stays elevated. Your pressure stays high. Find something that works for you. Meditation, deep breathing, time in nature, hobbies you enjoy, whatever quiets your mind and relaxes your body. Even 10 minutes a day makes a difference. Weight matters. If you're carrying extra weight, it's contributing to your high blood pressure. Every kilogram of weight loss can lower your blood pressure by approximately 1 point. So if you lose 10 kilograms, you could drop your pressure by 10 points. That could be the difference between being on medication and being off it. I'm not saying you need to be skinny. I'm saying that getting to a healthy weight for your body is one of the most powerful things you can do for your blood pressure. Limit alcohol. Alcohol raises blood pressure. 1 or 2 drinks a day for men, 1 drink a day for women, that's the limit. If you're drinking more than that, cutting back will lower your pressure. Don't smoke. If you smoke, quit. Smoking constricts your blood vessels and raises your pressure immediately. Over time, it damages your artery walls. If high blood pressure and smoking are working together, your risk of a heart attack or stroke is exponentially higher. A memorable patient story. I want to tell you about someone I mentioned earlier, Robert, and how his story changed after that stroke. Robert spent 6 months in recovery after his stroke. He had to relearn how to speak properly. He had to do physical therapy to regain strength in his right side. His business suffered because he couldn't be there the way he used to be. His family had to reorganize their lives around his recovery. But here's what happened next. Once Robert understood that his high blood pressure had caused this, something shifted. He realized this wasn't just about a number on a monitor. This was about his life, his independence, his ability to be present with his grandchildren. His daughter, who was with him every day during recovery, made a commitment to help him change. They started walking together every evening. They cut salt from their diet. Robert started seeing a therapist to work on stress management, because he realized a lot of his stress had been self-imposed through overwork. 6 months into his recovery, Robert's blood pressure was 128/82. Still a little elevated, but significantly better than it had been. 2 years later, it was consistently 118/76. But here's the important part. Robert didn't just get a better number on a blood pressure monitor. He got his life back. He was able to return to his business part-time. He could play with his grandchildren without being scared. He had more energy. He was sleeping better. He felt better. That's what this is really about. It's not about a number. It's about living a life where you feel good, where you're present, where you get to experience the things that matter to you. Actionable takeaways. Okay, I've given you a lot of information. Let me break down exactly what you should do starting today. First, get your blood pressure checked. If you haven't had it checked in the last 6 months, make an appointment. If you want, get one of those home monitors and check it a few times. Get a baseline so you know where you are. Second, if your reading is 120 or higher on the systolic, take it seriously. Don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's a fluke. This is your body talking to you. Third, start with one lifestyle change. Don't try to overhaul everything at once because you'll burn out. Pick one thing. Maybe it's adding a walk to your day. Maybe it's cutting back on salt. Maybe it's getting to bed earlier. Pick one, commit to it for 2 weeks, and then add another change. Fourth, talk to your doctor. Tell them your blood pressure is elevated. Tell them you want to address it. They can help you figure out whether medication is necessary, and they can support you through lifestyle changes. Fifth, measure regularly. Get a home blood pressure monitor. Check it weekly, same time of day, same way. Keep a log. You'll see changes, and that will motivate you to keep going. Sixth, involve your family. Tell them what you're working on. Ask them to support you. When your family is on board, you're much more likely to succeed. These aren't complicated steps. They're not expensive. They don't require special equipment or a gym membership. They just require you to decide that your health matters. Powerful conclusion. Here's what I want you to understand as we wrap up. Your blood pressure is one of the most important pieces of information about your health. It's not something you can feel. It's not something you can guess about. It requires you to actually measure it and pay attention to what those numbers are telling you. For years, Robert didn't pay attention. He felt fine, so he assumed he was fine. And that assumption cost him 6 months of his life, his independence, his peace of mind. You have an advantage that Robert didn't have going into that office visit. You now understand what high blood pressure is. You understand what it does. You understand that you can't feel it, so you have to measure it. And you understand that it's preventable and treatable. The goal isn't just living longer. Anyone can live longer. The goal is living better. Living a life where you have the energy to do the things you love. Living a life where you're not afraid that tomorrow you might have a stroke. Living a life where your mind is sharp, your body is strong, and you feel like yourself. That's what's possible when you take control of your blood pressure. Call to action. Here's what I want you to do right now. Head down to a pharmacy or schedule an appointment with your doctor this week and get your blood pressure checked. Don't wait, just do it. After you know your numbers, I'd love to hear from you. Drop your blood pressure reading in the comments, just the systolic number if you want to keep it private. Share what your health goal is. Is it getting off medication? Is it preventing a stroke? Is it having more energy? Let me know. Let's support each other in this community. And if this video was helpful, please like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Your share could literally save someone's life. Subscribe so you don't miss future videos on health topics that actually matter. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, because you're worth it.